So, fresh from another budget commander event at Bad Wolf. A little quicker in making this video, so it happened a couple of days ago rather than like the best part of a month. So, rules this time. Deck had a £50 maximum based on mana box value. All commanders had partner, and the £50 limit did not apply to the... all cards had a £2 limit, and the £50 limit and the £2 limit did not apply to the command zone. So you ended up with stuff like Nadu and Feather, which was one of the scariest opponents there. So, here's what I built. Well, actually, first things first, here's what I also have in the deck box, just because reasons. Yeah, I proxied myself Francisco. He is now my lucky chicken that I bring to these events. 2 copies of Weeble, which, well, it's become a meme in store because of this video.
What are you boobing about?
So I printed up 4 copies, one for myself, and one's for friends of the channel, Josh and Toru, and one for Nick, who was also there when this whole thing happened. One of these is mine, one of these is Nick's. I haven't been at the same time as him yet. I'll hand it across when I do. We now get to my commanders. We have Extus something something. Actually, what was Extus again? Extus Oriq Overlord. A 2/4 double strike with Magecraft. Whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcerer, return target non-legendary creature card from your graveyard to your hand. It's fine. Then on the back, which you'll see why it's sleeved this way in a minute, Awaken the Blood Avatar. As an additional cost to cast this spell, you may sacrifice any number of creatures. This spell costs 2 less to cast for each creature sacrificed this way. Each opponent sacrifices a creature. Create a 3/6 black and red avatar creature token with haste. Whenever this creature attacks, it deals 3 damage to each opponent. Also in the command zone was Blex Vexing Pest, which, yeah, a 3-mana 3/2. Other pests, bats, insects, snakes, and spiders you control get +1/+1. When Blex dies, you gain 4 life. Pets are typically harvested before they outgrow their enclosures. Blex is far from typical. Anyway, it's sleeved on this side for the same reason. Search for Blex, 4 mana. Look for the top 5 cards of your library. You put any number of them into your hand and the rest into your graveyard. You lose 3 life for each card you put into your hand this way. So basically, Search for Blex is in there as an emergency, oh shit, refill my hand button. Anyway, the rest of the deck, which, there's a small bag in there, which I only now realise is unsorted. So I'll be treating you all to a time lapse of deck sorting. Okay, so starting off then with the token generators, we have Sengir Autocrat, which is one of the few time-shifted rarity cards I own. I quite like these little purple boys. When it comes to play, it creates 3 0/1 tokens. That's all it's really there for. Right, the Homburg, 2 mana, create 2 1/1s. Does something else, it doesn't really matter for the deck. Chandra is here to be zeroed and create elemental tokens. Violent Rebirth, eats a creature from a graveyard, gets a zombie. Not 1 mana isn't bad for a 2/2. Goblin Slide, option for more zombies, option for more creatures. Makes all my non-creature spells gain the option to pay 1 for a 1/1, which is good math in this deck. Some of you will have figured out why already, but we'll get there in a moment. Death Tyrant. Yeah, it can self-recur, which is pretty fun, and more importantly, whenever a blocking creature an opponent controls dies, I get a zombie. And it doesn't have to be me attacking either, which is fun. Lagamos is primarily here for the elemental for token generation, because again, that's free token every turn. But I'm going to be having 5 or more creatures dying relatively often, so I can pretty reliably get the tutor off if he's on board. Marionette Apprentice, a 2 mana that comes with a 1/1. Well, and also it does some burn damage, but the burn damage isn't as important here. It can maybe stick around, we'll see. Krenko's Command, 2 mana, create 2 1/1s. Good math in this deck. Dragon Fodder, same thing. 2 mana, 2 1/1s. It's still good math. Judith isn't here for Death Touch and Lifelink. Judith is here for whenever I cast an instant or sorcery, I get an imp. Forbidden Friendship, 2 mana, 2 1/1s. Still good value. Krenko, tap to create goblins. This can snowball pretty quickly, and people have used hard removal on this before it can get going, and I do not blame them. It's a rather pretty version of Young Pyromancer. Instant or sorcery, I get a 1/1. Shambleback, 1 mana. Create a 2/2, and also gain 2 life. This is fucking decent card in general, but it's 1 mana for 1 token, which is value. Rakamar has haste, can create tokens. Useful. Slow Totem Tans, X cost, token generator, which means that at worst, I'm going to be casting this for 2 mana and getting 2 mana's worth out of it. If I cast it for at least 3 mana total, I get 4 mana's worth out of it, and it just goes up from there. Very useful card in this deck. Marsh Flitter, it's a 4 mana that comes with 2 1/1s. Again, value. Ghoulish Procession, if one of my non-token creatures die, I get a zombie. Again, value. Hangerback Walker, I didn't get a whole lot of use out of, just I didn't really manage to meet the get decent value from the X cost, and it needs to die, which is the tricky part. Might be sticking around the deck, might not, we'll see. I'll go through the upgrade plans at the end of the video, because this deck is actually sticking around. It's fun and devastating in the right circumstances. Anyway, Curse of Disturbance, Old Familiar. When a champion player is attacked, I create a 2/2 zombie. Attacking player does the same. Useful. Value boy. Rat Out. It's 1 mana for a token. It's worth it. Threefold Thunderhawk. 7 mana for 3 tokens, which isn't super worth it, but if it sticks around long enough to attack, then it is. It very much is, even if it dies while attacking. Curse of the Damned is just extremely good value in this deck, despite being expensive. Rel's Reinforcements, 2 mana, 2 1/1s. Value. Zap's Will, which some of you will have realised already why including this is objectively fucking stupid. So choose one. If you control a commander as you cast a spell, you may choose both. Each opponent sacrifices the creature they control the greatest power, and or exile all cards in all opponents' graveyards and create X 0/1 black Thrall creature tokens, where X is the greatest power among creature cards exiled this way. I'll set this one aside, and we'll see if you, the viewers at home, can figure out why this is so fucking stupid in this deck. Anyway, Curse of the Restless Dead. Whenever land enters the battlefield under a player's control, I get a 2/2 black zombie token with Decayed. You may recall, this was not in Francisco, but under card market pricing on Mana Box, it's legal. We can run the boy. Mad Ratter. 4 mana. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, create 2 1/1 black rats. Worth it. Weaponcraft Enthusiast. 3 mana, fabricate 2. Basically 3 mana for 2/1/1 and a 0/1. Worth it. Chandra is mostly here to be +1. To get 2 3/1 red elemental creature tokens with haste onto the battlefield, then exile. Mostly she's a token gen. I did use her to recycle my hand at one point, and the X cost. Okay, so one of the decks I was up against was Sasaya and Pharmacotton with 98 lands. So naturally, friend of the channel Maya, who was running this one, was creating a fuck ton of hobbits, and I could just neg one Chandra to kill them all, which didn't win me the game in the sort of casual rounds we played. In the actual event, we'll get there when we get there. I will be saying inside a couple of cards that came into play in that game. Rated Confluence. This is in the wrong pile. Anyway, choose 3. You may choose 0 more than once. Target player draws a card, loses a life. Target creature gets -2/-2 until end of turn. Return target creature and grave to your hand. Basically, this is there as 5 mana, draw 3, lose 3. Ashiok. Most of this is completely irrelevant. Ashiok is here to be -2/-2 2 turns in a row, and then to slowly try and plus up so that I can keep doing that. The only ones do the Nightmare creature tokens stick around long enough to actually get counters on them. I don't normally need them for themselves. We'll get there when we get there. On now to the miscellaneous fun stuff. Flemkin Herald. Commander spells you cast have Cascade. My commander is 8 mana. I usually cast it for less than that. I can get some expensive shit early game with this, if I draw into it. Onto the small burn package, Bastion of Remembrance. ETB, create a 1/1 white human soldier. For 3 mana, not really worth it, but whenever a creature you control dies, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. A lot of my creatures are going to be dying. This is an Aristocrats deck, as some of you have probably figured out. Zilipot Cutthroat. Whenever Zilipot Cutthroat or another creature you control dies, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. Same thing. This motherfucker right here. So whenever another creature dies or a creature card is put into a graveyard from anywhere other than the battlefield, or a creature card leaves your graveyard, the comrade deals 1 damage to each opponent. We'll get to why that was devastating in a moment. Mirkwood Bats. Whenever you create a sacrifice token, each opponent loses 1 life. This deck does all the token shit. That's decent. On the ramp pool, Rakdos Signet. Pay 1, tap, black or red. Charcoal Diamond. Yeah, this I'm running the diamonds in this deck. It's budget. Are there better mana rocks I could run? Yes. Am I not? Why am I not running them? Some of you will have worked this out by now, but we'll get there when we get there. Black Market. Absolutely fucking devastating in this deck in particular. Like, if I'm able to drop this and then board wipe until someone hits enchantment removal, I'm set for the game. Multi-format All-Star. Bloodstone Cameo. It's Commander Sphere, but it can't be sacked to draw a card and it only creates Rakdos. Why would I want that? Some of you have figured it out by now, I'm sure. Fire Diamonde. Yeah, it's that one. Sadbot. We're getting on to card draw here now. Well, ramp / card draw. You know, he's Sadbot, he does everything. You know what he does. Village Rites, sack 1, draw 2. Faithless Looting, draw 2, ditch 2, flashback 2 in a red. Body Count, Spectacle Black, which is, you're never going to be casting this for the non-spectacle cost. Spectacle is the cost you can cast it for if our opponent has been dealt damage this turn. Anyway, draw a card for each creature that died in your control this turn. This can get pretty strong in the right circumstances. Night's Whisper, draw 2, lose 2. A standard. Morbid Opportunist. If one or more other creatures die, draw a card. I'm going to be having creatures die. It's worth running. Blood Divination. 4 mana, sack a creature, draw 3. Corrosive Conviction. 1 mana, sack a creature, draw 2. One of these is a little bit more recent than the other, and a little bit better. Read the Bones. Try 2, draw 2, lose 2. A classic. Thrill of Possibility. Ditch 1, draw 2. Altar's Reap. Sack 1, draw 2. Mandate of Abaddon. Choose target creature you control, destroy all creature power less than that creature's power. That's going over there for the moment. We'll get to the thing that happened with that in a moment. Annihilating Glare. Additional cost to cast a spell, play 4 or sack an artifact or creature. I usually have one spare. It's decent removal. Deadly Cover-Up is a card that can really fuck with mono-colour decks. Some of you will already know why. If not, I will go through why. There's an additional cost to cast a spell. You may collect evidence 6. Destroy all creatures. If evidence was collected, exile a card from an opponent's graveyard and search its owner's graveyard, hand, and library for any number of cards that name and exile them. That player shuffles, then draws a card from each card exiled from their hand this way. It doesn't specify non-land. If your opponent's in mono and has a land in the bin, this is game over for them. It means they cannot hit a land for the rest of the game, as long as they have one basic in bin. Decree of Pain, a classic. Draw creatures that can't be regenerated, destroy a card for each creature, draw a card for each creature destroyed this way. I can also cycle it to give stuff -2/-2 till end of turn. Bit of Triumph. 2 mana, ditch 1 or pay 3 to yeet something. Chaos Warp is Chaos Warp. Bone Splinter's still in here, still has a lovely Jeremy Wilson art. Larry Niven's Disc, just because why not? 1 mana untapped to blow up all artifacts, creatures, and enchantments. I can afford to have my board wiped, broadly speaking. My opponents may not be able to. Bone Shards. Another one that's sticking around since the Francisco days. This deck started out with some stuff from there. On to the non-basics. Shattered Landscape. And we found it. The only white pip in the deck. If anyone hasn't figured out what the deal is with this deck yet, they should after that. Bajuka Bog. Stand a bit of graveyard hate. Smouldering Marsh. It's basic duel. Evolving Wilds and Terramorphic. 2 cards that do the same thing. But I like to run these because they thin the deck. It means I get my lands, and I'm more likely to hit cards that I need on later turns. Temple of Malice, because, we may as well run temples here. Dragonskull Summit. And then, let me find the dividing line here. Mountain. Oh, no, that's not what this is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 Swampos. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 Mountain-O's. Or something like that. So, as you figured out now, this deck is not Mardu, it's Mardon't. I intentionally built it such that it cannot create white mana. And one of the other regulars at the store, Dougie, was kind of shocked by this at first. And specifically asked, Commander Sphere's in there, right? Nope. What, Command Tower? Nope. Arcane Signet? Nope. It is tailored to only be able to create the colours of mana that it needs. This is also the main reason why I ran Blex as the partner. I could also run it on the sorcery side. And just have an additional colour in the deck's colour identity that I didn't even use. So, this deck is either Mardon't or Rack Doesn't, going forward, which we'll be sticking around going forward. And this is why Zat's Will is so fucking funny in here. I will never control a commander as I cast it. My commander is a sorcery. It's magnificent, I love it. So, these two then. Like I mentioned, Maya had the wombo combo of Sasaya and what's-his-face? Farmer Cotton. It reached the point where this is a second round, it's a 3-person pod. There was me with these two down here. There was Maya with her two up here, and friend of the channel Josh with 4-color Omnath and 9 Fingers Keen up here, which was also pretty scary, which is why he died first. Maya killed him before I could get off Maze's End. Because, it's landfall and gates. It's going to be efficient, it's going to be scary. That was a particularly good partner combo choice on his part. Anyway, we got to the point where Maya had about 60-odd life and 70-odd hobbits. And I had one Blood Avatar token, and very little else going for me. But I had Mandate of Abandon in my hand. I knew that if I could draw into Conrad specifically, I could win this. And as luck would have it, I drew into Conrad, and I had enough mana to cast them both on my turn. Maya intentionally left all 74 hobbits open as blockers just in case I tried to pull anything. Which was her downfall, as it meant that I could Conrad and then Mandate of Abandon to kill all the hobbits and deal damage and just burn for lethal. Yep. If you're going to sack the Shire, do it properly. Anyway. Onto the upgrade trajectory for this deck, which is similarly fucking stupid. So, starting off then, Ashnod's Altar. I like the idea of just being able to sack creatures to pay 2. Thrill of Possibility may already be in here, actually. Demand Answers. I'm replacing a lot of the sack draw with Drawn Ditch. Mogius Got a Slaughter. My devotion to black and red is going to be less than 7 most of the time, which means that it's rarely going to be a creature, and it forces them to get rid of even more of their shit. Doomblade is here because it was in the secret lair. Spiteful Prankster is here because it was in the secret lair. Torment of Hailfire. Like, with Ashnod, this can get pretty strong. I might be able to get... Well, with Ashnods or with Black Market, this can get ludicrous. They have to just yeet all of their board, basically, and not die. Ruination is just to fuck with people. It's here because it was in the secret lair. I know it's rude as hell. Massacre is just a board wipe. And the only other thing I particularly plan to add is Skullstorm. Because I've cast this commander 12 times. I've cast this commander 6 or 7 times in one game. And that's just fucking value. That's just mad value at that point when you're doing it for 6 or 7. And beyond that, I don't think the deck really needs any upgrades. I might add some slightly more expensive mana rocks maybe that can still only tap for Rakdos, because you know, as much as I'm doing the sort of colour challenge thing of one deck in each colour combo, I already have Rakdos with Garfield Deals Warlock. I've shown off Mardu recently, which is what I'm planning on upgrading my previous Francisca deck into. But this is in Mar don't or Rak doesn't. It's different. It counts separately. Anyway, that will be it for this video. I will see you next week when I will show off a rather spicy mono white deck. See you then.